This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with vocalist Norman Skinner III of the heavy metal act Niviane. I think we should start off the interview with the proper pronunciation of the band name.
Sure. Niviane.
Niviane.
There's a story there. I'll give them the little quick story about it. So
sure, go ahead.
So I didn't name the band. That's the first caveat. So one of the original founding guitar players was Claudius Kramer, who's now in Possessed and Sadist. So he was one of the first guys that formed. He wanted a power metal band at the time. They got me in. The band was already named prior to Niviane, which is how we pronounce it. He had a band called Serpent and Seraph, and they had a single called Tears of Niviane. And I guess he liked that. He brought that to the table, and everyone was like, that's different. We don't know what that is. It sounds cool. We'll go with it. Fast forward a little bit. No one can pronounce the name. It took me about 4 months to get it in here. The second album comes out, and I'm like, hey, let's just write a song called Niviane. So then, people that hear it, they'll know how it's pronounced. Well, we did that, and then shortly after we started going on tour, a lot of Europeans are telling us, you guys are pronouncing it incorrect. It's Niviane. And we're like, oh, really? Well, too late now. We already recorded a song. We're singing it the wrong way, and that's the way we were told it was pronounced. So we just own it now, and, we say it's the American way of saying it. So. But there you go. So I don't really correct people because we say it incorrectly, and so I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah.
So I'll probably slip back and forth between Niviane and Niviane, just so you know. So if I knew absolutely nothing about Niviane, how would you describe the band's music to me?
We're very much a power metal band, but we're not your typical, dancing with the unicorn in the forest, band. We stay away from a lot of the folk kind of intricacies that are in a lot of European power metal. We lean towards the heavy U.S. power metal, which has a lot of thrashy influences and stuff. So our music's definitely very heavy, very melodic, but we have a lot of that European stylistic playing going on and everything. But we're a very heavy power metal band.
Well, on March 7th, you released your third studio album, Queen of Phantoms, through Rockshot Records. Been a while since the last Niviane album. That was The Ruthless Divine in 2020. I know you released some singles leading up to this studio album, but I also heard that this Queen of Phantoms was recorded back in 2023.
Yeah, this was finished in 2023, and we shopped it around, and we're an indie label type band. We're not on that high level, not by far. A lot of do it yourself. You know what I mean? But we were going to try to go with Pure Steel Records again, and they went ahead and halted their physical, distribution and stuff like that. They're moving away from it. A lot of labels are, there's a lot of changes. So we were left without a label for the new album. We did the old school way of, well, not old school, but the new old school. You got your list of all the labels, and you have your sheet and your template, and you're sending it out with your EPK. And the ones that were high on our list of labels we really wanted either didn't reply or weren't interested. We didn't have enough of a following and sales and all the things that labels want. They want a turnkey band. If they are going to invest money in you, you better be super young and super marketable. Otherwise, and we're all veterans, so that's not happening. But we held out. We were like, the ones that did get back to us were really crappy deals, where we're just signing everything away and we can do it ourselves. And we were this close about 3 months before getting the deal with Rockshots. We were just going to go ahead and put it out ourselves, and most likely be straight to the merch table with a little bit of whatever we could pay for online marketing, etc. But luckily, the deal came through. It looked good for where we're at, and what we needed, and I'm actually really happy with them. They've been doing a nice push. The distribution's been good so far. The marketing's been great, so I don't have any complaints.
So where Rockshot is an Italian label, I believe, are you going to have any distribution issues here in the United States?
That's all on me. Basically, we have our free per contract amount of physical that they'll ship to us, and I hit them up yesterday. I'm like, is there any tracking information? They're like, oh, we need your home address. Okay, so I think they're just shipping me the albums now. Of course, I got a list of pre-orders that I have to email everybody. And be like, so sorry, just saying, hold on, it'll get to you as soon as I get it. But yeah, as far as anything in the Americas, they're going to basically have to order from my store, normanskinner.net. So there's that do-it-yourself, portion of it.
So with a lot of these, I would describe it as fantasy or adventure. Some people call it castle metal albums. There tends to be a story that goes along with it, a concept album, if you will. I don't think Queen of Phantoms is a concept album, is it?
No, I've never done a concept album with any of my projects. I mean, I have a new project that's a recording project that is nothing but an ongoing concept. But no, the closest I've come to it is on this album we do have 12 BC Legions, 12 BC Germania, which is tracks 2 and 3. And it's basically a two-parter. It's 12 BC, it's about the Romans invading the Germanic tribes, and it's told from each side. So that's about it. But yeah, beyond that, I like to be versatile. I don't want to be handcuffed into a certain story for a whole album, especially when I got so many different cool song ideas being thrown at me from the guys musically.
Are you a big history guy? Is that why you covered 12 BC that way?
I do love history. I wouldn't say I'm a huge history guy, but I love watching documentaries. I love watching biopics, things like that. And I do find history very, it makes for good lyrics, man. It really does. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of the things I'll delve into when I'm getting ideas.
I believe Sabaton and Gravedigger would agree with you that it's good for lyrics.
Yeah, definitely. Sabaton is the king band when it comes to that.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we talk about the main track on the album, the track that the album was named after, Queen of Phantoms. Tell me what inspired that one.
Actually, I'll give a shout out to my friend Kristen Lawson, Braithwaite. She got married within the last couple of years. But at the time, we had our first album, we have a song about a deity called Adrestia. On the second album, we have Niviane, which is also sort of a deity, mythical female. So she's like, oh, she's very Irish. And she said, Morrigan is a deity from, Celtic mythology. Why don't you write a song about that? So I looked into it, and it was originally called Morrigan. Then it was called Morrigan, Queen of Phantoms. And then when we were naming the album and we were going to use it as the title, it just became Queen of Phantoms. But yeah, it's about Morrigan, a Celtic deity. So
you have a third single out. It's Tomorrow's a New Day. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what inspired that one?
That one was a complete accident song. Basically, one of our two guitar players, Gary Tarpley, was doing a live stream during the COVID lockdowns, and everyone was doing them. And he was like, "Hey," to his fan base, he's all, "I'm going to show you how I just come up with ideas and how I track songs in my software." Well, I happened to tune in. I wasn't doing anything either. I'm locked down, so I was watching him, and I'm like, "Hey, send that to me, and I'll show people how I write lyrics to your stuff." Because it was the riffs were great, and I was already kind of getting ideas. So he sent that, and I wrote, and I think I did one live stream where I was layering some vocals and showing a little part. And then when I sent it back to him, he's like, "Wow, this turned out so fantastic," and I agreed. So we're like, "Yeah, they were gonna have to put this on the Niviane album as a Niviane song and show it to the rest of the guys." But it's a very deep song. It's about just mental issues, addiction, suicide. It encompasses the whole thing, and just to not give up. And even though today's maybe a super bad day or one of worst days somebody's had, there's always tomorrow. Hopefully it's better. And that's just the message.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you identify yourself sort of as one of those indie level bands, but this album is very well done. I had listened to your past album back in 2020. This album is leaps and bounds above that. The production quality is great. This is a really good heavy metal album. I'm not even a fan of like the death growls, but you do it well and it fits the material well. So I would say, I mean, you're a little above that indie level band, I'd say at this point.
Yeah, that's what we think too. We have those conversations all the time. It's you just need to find those right connections and the right people to hear you and the people to back you. And it takes a long time. Sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. And but we do invest. We invest in we work with Zach Oren on this album. He actually did Ruthless Divine and this one. I think that his engineering has gotten even better than in 2020. But he's known for doing like the Machine Head albums and things like that. And he did my last solo album as well, The Dark Design by Skinner. And currently I'm recording with him for the new Forbidden album. So I'm getting really used to working with Zach. He is fantastic. But when we do our past music videos from the first two albums, we work with really high-end people. We want everything to look as professional as possible. Unfortunately for this album, our budget ran out and everyone was just kind of done throwing money at the wall. So, we didn't do the big cinematic video or anything. The Tomorrow's a New Day video, I did all by myself. I like, it's something I've been wanting to get into. So, like the visualizer for Queen of Phantoms I did, and the actual Tomorrow's a New Day music video I did. So I'm starting to dabble in that.
It's almost like bands have to at this point. They have to work their own videos, work their own promotion, and everything that comes along with it.
100%. Unless you got that green, you're going to have to do it.
Well, you mentioned earlier as well that, labels are starting to get away from physical format. And I know there's another label out in Germany that's known for their heavy metal. It's getting away from that as well. Probably because CD players are tough to find. They're not in motor vehicles anymore. Right. But there's still demand for CDs, I think, amongst purists and people that grew up with CDs. But vinyl's also making somewhat of a comeback, at least with older guys like me and you. Obviously, there's a cost with vinyl. I'm assuming that's why there's no vinyl version of this album yet.
Well, there's two reasons. One is you've nailed the first one, cost. Two, anybody that really looks into like the length of our songs, we would have to do a double album for each one of these. Yeah. Unfortunately, our album would not fit on a single. We would have to do a double, which makes the cost even greater. And that's, we looked into it for the Druid King, our first album, and we just could not find where we're at as a level. We were a higher band where we had a bigger fan base and there was more demand for our albums. We absolutely could see a reason to invest in that. But when we're only selling, a few hundred CDs at a time before, the chances of selling a great amount of vinyl for us is not there. So
how about live performances? Is this something that Niviane does on a regular basis?
We have. It's taken, so there's 6. We're a band of 6, and a lot of us have multiple projects. So our schedules, it's hectic. It's just trying to get an online meeting is like herding cats. It's really, really hard. I know for one, since I joined Forbidden, since we have day jobs, pretty much all my PTO goes to them. So I actually had to tell the band big tours are sort of out. For me, I can only do festivals, weekend runs, like some bands might do a, 4 or 5 city quick little thing. Things like that are okay, but large ones, it's not possible, unfortunately. So that, nobody's happy about that. They might not speak up about it, but we know, but I've seen other members of the band, they're also devoting more time to their other projects that tour and stuff. So ultimately, this band, it seems like mostly we're writing and recording. and playing. We only played a handful of shows in 2024, so that seems to be the route that this band's going. Unless somebody wants to pony up a lot of dough and make it worth their while, I don't see the big grand tours happening.
I had the opportunity to interview Craig just as he was kicking Forbidden back up, and you had signed on to be the vocalist of the group. I never had the chance to ask him, or I don't think I asked him, but how were you recruited into Forbidden?
Oh, that was an accident as well. Somebody called me the accidental vocalist once because everything in my career just seems to kind of happen. Um, the story behind that is Forbidden. He was doing Dress the Dead was the band he was really involved with, and he was doing his Bay Area Interthrational. And for those that don't know what Bay Area Interthrational is, it's a bunch of names that will play thrash songs. But so say you're in Death Angel, you can't play a Death Angel song. You have to play like a Testament song. So you can't play your own music. So this was a few years back. They've done stuff since, and they were playing the Dynamo Festival. And the singers that they had on board was like Randy from Lamb of God and Mark from Death Angel and stuff. Well, these guys either didn't live in the area or they were on tour. And the core band that was rehearsing everything in the room was like, we need a singer to keep us on. We need somebody to help us follow this stuff. Well, Chris Contos, who happened to be one of the drummers that was, jamming these songs, said, what about that guy, Norman? He's got a good voice. And Craig's like, oh, yeah. Now, mind you, I didn't know these guys well at all. This was somebody I would see at a show and be like, hey, how's it going? That was it. So Craig called me out of the blue, asked if I'd learn 12 songs for some rehearsals. That's it. So I was like, yeah, sure. I went down there, and, a lot of names were in there. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of felt like it was above my pay grade a little bit. I was like, okay, this is cool. I was all nervous. So I just, we went through like 11 songs. Then I think the third rehearsal, I'm like, what about this last song, the Forbidden song? And he's like, well, we wouldn't play that because we're all in the band. Because Craig was there. The people in there, besides all the other players, it was Mark Hernandez from the Omega Wave lineup, Steve Smythe. You got Craig and Matt. So basically, it was off the edge. And then somebody, I think Chris, who was over there, he's like, hey, you guys should learn it. Or Craig said we should learn it just in case somebody drops out or we have to do it. So it was off the edge. I did it. And little did I know, behind me, the door opened because, guys are filtering in and out, right? And the door opened and guys were going like, oh my God, and then I guess they're pointing at Craig and he's like, but I'm in my zone. I don't see any of this happening. So I helped them out. I'm driving from two to 2.5 hours away each way to do this. And Craig said to everyone in the room, he goes, it's not lost on me that he just slayed that. Okay. So they invited me to do another Bay Area International in San Francisco where it was 3 different, there was a US, Euro, and I forget what the other one was, but they did like 3 different sets. And I was going to do Chalice of Blood by Forbidden, but with Warbringer as my backing band. So, and what's funny is the singer told me, he goes, I've never not fronted my own band. This is going to be the only time I don't sing with my band. But he did the backups. So I ended up learning like 9 songs, more than any other singer, and did like a whole bunch of music. Everyone was like looking at Craig while I'm doing Chalice of Blood. The place went insane. And I'm backstage and Contos comes on and I don't know if he knew I was there. He's like, Craig, you're effing stupid if you don't get Forbidden back together with Norman, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was it. I didn't hear anything from them for like a month or 2. I thought I was going to get another call to do some more Bay Area International stuff. And I got a call, but it wasn't for Bay Area International. It was for Forbidden. And that's just kind of how it happened. I just, was helping out, sang well enough, and just kind of fell into place.
Well, you're going to be heading out to do some European festivals with Forbidden this summer. You're celebrating 40 years of Twisted Evil, which is 40 years of the band and 35 years since Twisted into Form. You got Some headlining dates along the way too. When do you start kind of preparing for this tour?
Well, right now, I mean, literally, I'm waiting on a text to see if I'm supposed to go into the studio Friday to record the first three songs, vocals on. Because what we're doing is we have three songs written. We've tracked the drums. We've tracked all rhythm guitars, and Matt's going in on Thursday. So we got three new songs, the first in since 2010. Uh, Beyond that, I think we're just writing and recording until June, and then I think all of July is prepping because we are going to do the whole Twisted and Evil. I mean, sorry, Twisted in Form album, plus some tracks off of Forbidden Evil, which we've been playing that in its entirety as the 35 years of that's passed. So yeah, we have. I only have three songs, Chris and I, that we have to learn, as well as Dan Mongrain. We have to learn a Rip, Tossed Away, and One Foot in Hell. Those are the three off that album that we have not gotten together and worked out. But yeah, it's going to be fun.
Now, are you more of a festival guy or a club show guy? I mean, obviously, they both have pros and cons, but festivals, larger audience, club show, more intimate. What are your thoughts?
I like they both got the pros and cons, like you said. I love the club shows for the intimacy. I love that I'm able to hang out, not get mobbed or anything. You can just like literally talk to everybody if you want. And usually we have a little more control over the sound, and everything. So I think I lean a little bit more towards the large club shows, but there's something to be said about festivals. I mean, you get treated usually a little bit better with festivals. The catering's better. You're playing to larger audiences, and you're getting to meet sometimes a lot of your own musical heroes and rub elbows and network. So that's always fun too. But yeah, if I had to choose one, I think I would lean a little bit more towards club show.
In the fall, you're going to be going back to California for a festival, the Aftershock Festival. You're going to be, I believe you're playing the opening slot on the opening day in early October. Dream Theater's headlining. Yngwie Malmsteen's going to be there. I'm actually going to see Dream Theater this weekend here in Boston. That'll probably be good to be sort of near your hometown for a festival.
Oh yeah, this one. So I mentioned that I have to drive 2 to 2.5 hours each way to rehearse with Forbidden. The Aftershock Festival is like 20 minutes from my house, so they have to drive up to my neck of the woods for a change. But yeah, we're actually playing. So we're playing the second of 4 days. We're opening one of the stages, and it's been a curated stage, so most of it is thrash bands. So we got like Death Angel, Exodus, Testament, all on that same stage. So that should be really cool. I'm excited to see Dream Theater. I've seen them so many times. I'm a big fan. Never met any of them, so I'm kind of hoping maybe I might, in passing, get to meet one of the guys. But yeah, big fan. I've always loved James LaBrie's vocals as well. So I'm a huge fan of his solo albums, even more than the Dream Theater albums. But I love his solo work. He does the same thing I do, except he gets another guy to do it with where you sprinkle in the growls. He has another guy that does it. And I love how they play off each other. So.
You mentioned working on 3 songs with Forbidden. Is that eventually going to lead to a full album, an EP, or just a series of singles?
My understanding is full albums. A full album. He's got many other songs in the pipeline. Some of them they've been working on. I've heard bits and pieces, but I think our management, our lawyer, everybody wants something out ASAP. So the idea was pick 3. Get them done, and then that way we can start getting some stuff out to media, get some airplay going while we finish up the album and keep the demand there and the interest.
You mentioned your solo album, The Dark Design, that came out in 2023. Do you have time to work on a follow-up to that?
Oh, I am. So anyone watching this, please check out my album, The Dark Design. The reason I say that is I worked on that album for about 8 years on the back burner. It was just I've released many albums with different bands during that time, but that one is my baby, and I just said whenever I found time. Well, it released, and within 2 weeks later from the release, the announcement hit that I joined Forbidden. So needless to say, my release kind of got swallowed up. So, but I am working on. I have over 75% of my follow-up solo album written and pre-production is going on. So, just a few more songs to write, and there won't be too long before I can hopefully get in the studio and get that one rolling. So, yeah, I'll always continue to do Skinner albums. It's just my own creative thing. You know what I mean?
You have this other project that I've seen talked about as far back as 5 years ago, Elemantis. It's a symphonic power metal album. I read on your social medias that you're finally starting to track some stuff on this. What can people expect from this particular project?
So we were talking about the concept concept album. This is sort of my. I had this idea. I'm like, well, what if I put together a core group of guys, but I've also worked with various other musicians and guest singers, and I created a storyline that just went album to album to album. It just ongoing, sort of like a Harry Potter series, where here's the next chapter, if. So I have about 4.5 EPs already in pre-production, ready to go. 6 songs each. And each one's ultimately sort of a chapter, and I've been working on it for a long time. It's very symphonic compared to anything I've done. A lot of keys, a lot of orchestration, but it's still driving. But it's definitely I have a lot of guest vocals. There's songs I don't even sing on that I wrote. I'm writing the vocals, I'm writing all the lyrics. A lot of female vocalists, myself, male vocalists, a lot of different players writing different songs. So I will say that it's all vampire based, and with sort of at least these first few albums have sort of a supernatural twist to it, a paranormal twist. But yeah, it's fun. It's something different. I mean, when I put this out there, I'm going to be like, don't expect this to sound like Forbidden or my old bands, or this is something completely different. Check it out. It might be to your liking, it might not, but it's completely a studio project, which is various people. But we're having fun, and we are working on guitars. All the drums for the first one are tracked. So
I noticed you had a couple of pre-pandemic bands. I don't know if you're still involved with them. Are you still working with Imagica?
no, so I Imagica I joined in like '04. They had 3 albums out already, and then I was on 4 albums between 2005 2010, and then we had a breakup. Basically, it wasn't a nice one either. We the guitar player and I got back together in 2019 for one album. We did one album, and then we did one video, but that was it. It kind of ran its course. But yeah, I haven't done anything with them since like 2019, 2020, just around when COVID hit. At that same time, I also left Hellscream, which was a recording project. So that one I did 2 studio albums. That was just a studio thing as well, but we only did 2 albums. Hellscream's fun. It's if anyone's ever heard of like the 3 Tremors or Cage, it's basically the entire band except with me singing. And then the last Imagica album, the drummer we used was Matt Thompson from King Diamond, so that was fun to work with him. And the drummer from Hellscream is now in KK's Priest. So, it's cool. I can, oh yeah, we were working on this before these guys went into this stuff. So,
So do you have any other music projects that are coming down the pipeline?
no, it's really Forbidden's the be all end all for me now.
Mm-hmm.
Niviane has kind of, like I said, kind of gone, it's going the studio route. I don't know how much live dates will be going. But beyond that, the only other 2 is all my solo stuff, which is just Skinner. That's always going to be a recording project. Unless someone wants to offer me something for a festival or so, I'll absolutely throw some guys together and really practice and get something going for that. That'd be fun. And then, of course, Elementis is my new studio thing. So studio, I definitely have time. Studio stuff, you fit it in. You can, I love to put out lots of different music and lots of different sounding rock and metal, not just, I'm in Forbidden, so there's no need for me to have another thrash band. You know what I mean?
True. Whereas Queen of Phantoms was finished in 2023, have you been writing for the next, I already forgot how to pronounce the name, Niviane album?
Oh, it's what's funny is you're actually getting better every time you say it. That was perfect. So I haven't seen the guys. God, it's been months. I have not seen the whole band together going on many, many, many months. But at last rehearsal, we had 4 songs that we were finalizing for a potential next album. But yeah, we definitely need to get together, have a powwow, and see what the future holds because I'm not sure where where everyone's direction is and what's going to happen. I mean, honestly, to be completely transparent, things could go great or they could go very bad. So we'll have to see what the future holds. So,
Well, those are all the questions I have for you tonight, Norman. The new Niviane, Niviane, Queen of Phantoms. It's out now through Rockshot Records. Fantastic album. I'd say early album of the year contender for heavy metal. I'm very impressed by it. Like I said, the growl stuff not normally my thing, but it works here, and you got enough melody and enough power. It's certainly one of the better albums I've heard the last 3 months.
oh, awesome. That's great news. Thank you so much. And I'm just to touch on that, I'm the same with, I didn't like growl vocals at all until the early 2000s. Then I started hearing bands that would intermix it. And I was like, okay, well, I don't ever want to be a guy that just growls all the time, but I'll put it in like sprinkling on on a ice cream sundae or something. So, yeah.
Well, Norman, thanks for joining me tonight, and I wish you the best of luck for everything. And thanks for letting us know more about your new album and everything else you have going on.
Absolutely. Thank you for the time.